Freeman, and it's incomplete. Or did he make the catch at the 15?
Yeah.
What are they going to rule it? He caught it? Touchdown! He did what?
The end zone. It is caught for the win. Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
Rushes on, has time. Looking, throws, middle, got it there. Breaking free to the 50. He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side. And there's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Green and Golden Boys Packers podcast, the podcast for Packers fans living inside enemy territory. I'm Charles, and with me as always is Marcus.
Heyo.
Hey Marcus, you know, we've played a lot of games since our last loss to the Colts, and we're probably really confident because we beat all these mediocre teams with losing records, and we're feeling on top of the world. But the Tennessee Titans are coming to town Sunday night, and this is arguably the most important game of the season for some reasons, and yet for other reasons we'll get into later, not as important possibly if our number one goal is to secure the number one overall seed. But I think we can both agree that Tennessee, with Derrick Henry being their featured back and the Green Bay Packers struggling against strong defense, running backs, I think we agree that this is going to be a pretty tough game Sunday night.
Yeah, I think we can agree, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think the one that's got Packers fans' teeth chattering is Derrick Henry. He's obviously one of the most prolific backs in the NFL. He's 6'3", 240 pounds of pure gristle, as Tony Horton would say, and he is as intimidating a running back to tackle that I can think of in recent history. Maybe Adrian Peterson is one that comes to mind to kind of compare him to. But I mean, yeah, the guy's a force to be reckoned with for sure. If we're able to stop the run, though, there are still a lot of things on the Titans offense that scares me a little bit. So, we've talked about it all year long. Does Aaron Rodgers have a bona fide number 2 receiver? Well, the Titans kind of have, I would argue 3 guys that they can turn to whenever they need to. A.J. Brown, I think we're all familiar with. He's having a big season, 56 catches, 881 yards, and 10 touchdowns. But right there is next on the list is Corey Davis. He's put up almost 1,000 yards already, 5 touchdowns, 60 receptions, and the other guy, obviously, that can hurt you on the offense is Ryan Tannehill. He is having a really good season. I know, early on in the year it was, he was playing really well. It's the best football we've seen from him in a couple of years. Not too worried about the Titans defense, but they definitely have some firepower on offense. They put up 46 last week against Detroit. And, they can go out there and score with the best of them.
They can score with the best of them, and kind of looking back at their schedule, they do score, like the best of them. They score like the Packers. They put up these, points, crooked numbers as you call them, right? 30s, 40s. But I think the one game to look at, I think, in recent, history here, you can't go too far back in the season because obviously teams, evolve. But I'm looking at this Browns game. 3-4 weeks back, Browns were able to beat Tennessee, and it was the first time I think people really took the Browns seriously because they're 10-3 at this, 11-3 at this point. And I'm trying to look at the number of sacks right now, but they got you under the skin of one of the guys you just mentioned, which is Tannehill. I think they sacked him like 6 times, and I'm going to fact check that here in a second. But I think the key to stopping this offense is everything about our defensive line, right? Whether it's stopping Derrick Henry going up the middle or around the outside, for runs, but then also just making sure that we're hitting Ryan Tannehill as often as possible because we don't want him to hook up with any of his dangerous weapons that he has on offense.
For sure. I think that's going to be a big opportunity for us if our pass rush can get going and we're able to contain him and kind of flush him out, or I should say flush him out and keep him from having time in the pocket, then we've got an opportunity. But like I said earlier, the Titans defense doesn't scare me a ton. So I anticipate this to be a kind of a high scoring game on both ends, and it probably will come down to a couple different factors. I think the turnover battle is going to be huge. I think whoever wins that is going to win this game. If there happen to be no turnovers, because if I'm looking at both of these guys, I mean, Tannehill's only got 5 interceptions all season. Aaron Rodgers only has 4. So it's likely that there may not be any turnovers, at least through the air this game. But um, other than that, I think it's going to come down to defense and execution against the opposing offense. So I think the defense edge goes to the Packers in this game because
Sure.
I'm looking at the statistics, and the Titans definitely seem to get scored on a lot too. I think the Packers defense is coming on right now. They're playing their best football this season, especially in our secondary. And we're starting to see Rashawn Gary pick up a little momentum every game, getting a little bit better. Of course, he gets hurt every single game, it seems like, but he's right back in. He's right back in the mix a couple of series later. But yeah, so what I envision as a key to success is going to be able to force a turnover or two, and then just kind of be able to get after Ryan Tannehill and kind of get him uncomfortable and try to get him to make some errant throws if possible.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, these two teams might kind of mirror each other well. I think where the Packers win is they have a more dangerous quarterback, they have a more dangerous wide receiver, they have a more dangerous uh, tight end. Maybe they don't have a more dangerous running back. That might be where they have us. But I think you're right. I think the Packers, if they do what we know that they can do, right? They don't lean too heavily on Devontae, which how many times have I said that this season? Has everyone said that this season? If
Yep.
they don't, get away from the run like we saw last weekend against the Panthers, I do like our chances. I do think we're doing well. Here's the thing: more important than this game is the number one seed in the NFC, right? But then also comparing our, this is our first real test. Like I kind of started the show saying, right? This is our first test in a long time. We were supposed to win the last 3 games. It would have been very bad, embarrassing, and a huge step back if we missed, if we lost any of those. Fortunately, we took care of business. But this is our first real test against a team, like I said, that has their biggest strength as our defensive biggest weakness. So it's going to be a tall task, and I still think we can win if we don't do this, but I know we can win if we can keep Derrick Henry under 100 yards. Marcus, can we keep Derrick Henry under 100 yards?
Can we? Yes. Will we?
Will we?
Probably not, but I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. I think even if we're able to keep Derrick Henry on under 100 yards, I think this offense still has enough firepower to win without having a huge day from Derrick Henry. Obviously, any traction they can get from him is really helpful. But let me remind you that last week he only scored 1 touchdown. Tannehill threw for 3 and ran for 2. I mean, it was a big day for that offense all around, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like pick your poison. I mean, they could beat you with Derrick Henry, but they don't need him to in order to beat
Yeah,
you.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think, I mean, look at the performance minus Kevin King that the Packers had in their secondary. If their game plan isn't to run the ball down our throats, then I think, I think they're mistaken because you know, I like our corners and our free safeties matched up against any one of these guys. I mean, even last week, they eventually, against the Panthers, Moore and Anderson, they eventually got some of their yards. But for the first half, we locked them down. And I am confident in Jair, and I'm more and more confident every game with Amos and Savage just seemingly getting better and better each week. Where I'm not confident at all is our our run defense. And I just think if they're going to beat us, it's gonna be on the ground. So, wow, first real episode where we're taking thought processes on.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. So let me ask you this: who? Okay, so we're talking a little bit about defense. Who's your guy on defense? Who has to have a big game on the Packers defense for us to win?
Pick anyone in the middle. I'm gonna go. I want to say Kenny Clark because come on, man, got that run defense money. But just based on how Pettin plays, our defense, I'm looking to Kamal Martin. It seemingly every game, he's stepping up. I want to see them hit the A gaps, hit the B gaps, and meet Henry at the line of scrimmage, not 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. But Kamal Martin is who I'm focusing on. But I think that kind of generally goes with that inside linebacking core. So Barnes and Christian Kirksey as well.
Okay.
How about you? Do you got a guy that you're really going to focus on? I guess I went with Kamal Martin there. Who are you focusing on defensively?
I'm gonna say Chandon Sullivan and Josh Jackson. So, with Kevin King not playing as well, I am thinking those guys are going to get a little bit more opportunities to shine. I know last week Sullivan only had, I think, one pass defense, but that's probably one more than Kevin King had. So I'm going to say it's going to be from our secondary and our secondary cornerbacks. So I'm going to go with Jackson and with Sullivan and see what they can do against this tandem of AJ Brown and Corey Davis.
I love it. So I'm concerned about the run, so I'm picking inside linebackers to step up and stop the run. You're concerned a little bit more about their passing than I am, so you're picking the secondary. Love it. How about offensively on our side of the ball? For us to look like the Packers from the first half of last week, but not like the Packers of the second half of last week. What do the Packers have to do offensively? Which player offensively are you really looking at to make sure that we find success and find the end zone a lot in Green Bay this Sunday night?
That is a good question. I don't want to say Devontae Adams because again, that we've said it so many times. So I'm gonna say Alan Lazard, and I'm gonna say that because he's usually so sure-handed, and he struggled a little bit last week. I want to see him. I want to see him have 7 or 8 catches for 70 or 80 yards and a touchdown, maybe. Just give Devontae an opportunity to for their secondary to focus on somebody else. Again, selfishly, I want to see him succeed and I want to see somebody emerge as our number 2 because last week was one of those cases where again, it wasn't a huge game from Tunyon, Lazard, or MVS. MVS came off a huge game and all of a sudden he just mediocre again. So I'm gonna go with Alan Lazard. How about you on offense?
I love it. I'm going to mention them because I know we didn't mention them last game, and that's what probably caused them to not perform as well. But I'm going to go with Elton Jenkins and the rest of the Packers offensive line. I think if Aaron Rodgers is on the ground 5 times this Sunday, like he was last, I don't think we're going to have a very good night. I think we need to give Aaron time to find your key player of the game, Alan Lazard, and Devontae and keep his jersey clean like we had been doing all year. So I think my player is going to be players, and I'm going to kind of circle that whole offensive line.
I mean, you're cheating a little bit, but I'll give it to you because I definitely agree. Our O-line has to bounce back, have a big game, giving Aaron Rodgers some time, let him work back there and connect with our guys. So, all right. Well, what about?
A week ago, we introduced the special teams player to watch, and you nailed it with Mason Crosby. Are you going to nail it like he nails his field goals and pick him again, or who are you looking at in terms of special teams this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mason Crosby does have to have a big game this week. I think we're going to ask him to kick probably 2 or 3 field goals this week, and then obviously I'm going with like 4 extra points. But I'm gonna pick J.K. Scott. And I say that because he had a lot of punts last week, and if a lot of screen time. If a similar situation arises this week, we need to be able to count on him to get these 50-yard plus punts and kind of play the field